Speaker, for the purpose of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During the consideration of this resolution, all time yielded for purposes of debate only.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and exclude extraneous material. Resolution 531 currently under consideration.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I usually begin my statements talking about the technicalities of the rule, who's managing general debate time, and a recap of the testimony and amendments we received in the Rules Committee hearing. And these are important items to discuss before this body, but today is different. The debates that we will have on this rule and the underlying legislation will be and should be different. I'll be honest, this bill has nothing to do today with job creation, has nothing to do with reducing regulatory burden or empowering educators to focus on the needs of students to the wish list of unions. Those are important issues that we'll address in coming weeks. But today is different. Today we face the growing evil in the world and resolve to fight against it, no matter the price. The power of ISIS to kill and destroy has stunned the world and called us to question who we are as individuals, as people of faith, and as a nation. It doesn't matter how many press conferences this administration holds. They will not distract from their abdication of responsibility to the security of the United States and the security of its citizens. The pro-rape, pro-torture, pro-mutilation strategy of Islamic State does not shrink in the face of meaningless words by our Commander-in-Chief. We are here today because this administration has failed. In the face of unspeakable violence and terror, the White House blinked, and our world is paying the price. My colleagues across the aisle no doubt plan to deliver moral lectures, as this administration is so fond of, dismissing those who suggest that the Islamic State will use any means possible to bring America to her knees. Before they do, let me remind them the price this country has paid for freedom. Soil around the world is soaked with the blood of our sons and our daughters who gave it all so that we may be free, as Lincoln said, that last full measure of devotion. And those who seek refuge can find safety and security in our country. Despite what this administration wants you to believe, refugees don't seek safe haven in the United States because of our welfare benefits. It's because we don't negotiate with terrorists. It's because we recognize first and greatest responsibility is the life and liberty of those who call America home. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of laws. And we are a nation with fundamental responsibility to preserve the rights of our citizens, and those rights include life. The United States has one of the most generous legal immigration programs in the world, welcoming the hurting and the abandoned, the persecuted and the destitute, and we will continue to. But we will not welcome terrorists. We will not sacrifice moral courage on the altar of quotas. This country and the world will be judged by the future generations on our response as a nation, as the individuals to the Islamic State and those they have raped, tortured, and driven from their homes and murdered. And I believe we'll be judged on our commitment to the safety of the millions of men, women, and children already living within our borders. The underlying legislation, H.R. 4038, isn't about who we welcome into our country. It's about keeping out those who pose a threat to our national security. Last night, the Rules Committee received testimony from the Judiciary and Homeland Security Committee chairman and minority representatives, as well as receiving amendment testimony from a number of members on both sides of the aisle for over 4 hours. Now more than ever, those who seek shelter in the United States deserve the assurance that our government is doing everything within its power to protect them from the very evil they fled. But where is the administration? Perhaps the Commander-in-Chief would stop holding press conferences to lecture Republicans and start leading the world in the fight against terrorism. We wouldn't have thousands upon thousands tortured, displaced, and killed. The White House said ISIS was contained less than 24 hours before 100 people became the latest victims of terrorism in the streets of Paris. And oh, by the way, before releasing 5 from Guantanamo that morning. It seems the president was too busy practicing his Turkish for the G20 summit remarks to notice the world is crumbling and Islamic State is growing stronger. In fact, when the president spoke at the G20 summit press conference, here's what he mentioned before addressing the terrorist attacks in Paris. The beauty of Turkey, the hospitality of the Turkish people, the practice of the Turkish language, the need to grow the global economy, the need to create jobs, rising inequality in the world, cyber theft, oh yes, global climate talks. There is no question that we have a political commentator when what we need, what our nation and the world needs, is a commander-in-chief. With that, I reserve the balance.